Hello, my name is Erik Lönnroth and I am the maintainer of the Nextcloud Juju charm. I'm going to go through today the deployment of that into a cloud. So I hope that this is going to be show you how easy it can be, so that by the end of the demo you're going to know about Juju, you're going to know about various kind of charms and clouds, and be capable of deploying not only Nextcloud but also a vast amount of other technologies that can help you solve some of the very difficult problems that we are facing together, like sometimes also on a global scale. Right, I want to mention that this video is part of the Hack for Future event, and it's going to take on three very difficult challenges. As you can see, global problems of the virus spread and tracking. You got the bushfire risk management, and then the crazy topic smart cities. I've never been to a smart city. I've been to many cities, but never a smart one. But I'm sure you're gonna figure it out. And I also want to mention the Edgy Riders community that is also tackling a completely different set of global challenges. But it's a very interesting project going on. I urge you to go and check it out, the Edgy Riders. So any community today that is trying to take on like problems of any scale today are highly dependent on cloud technologies, very advanced technologies, very attractive stuff like Office 365. We need that for like maybe collaboration suite and Teams and Google Drives and maybe Dropboxes to store our data somewhere, have it available. We got Hangouts and Teams and Slack and everywhere. So but the problem with this, there's an inherent problem here, that all of these amazing technologies that we're getting accustomed to use on internet to solve these problems are operated by large ad tech companies. So they harvest our data, they analyze it, they package it, they sell it, and sometimes that all of this is also happening without our consent or knowledge, right? So, and this is where the problem is, it comes in deep conflict with our desires to protect our communities and our members from being exploited, right? So what I will teach you today is how you can have access to all of these amazing software. One of them would be the Nextcloud, right? So one of those amazing software suite would be Nextcloud, and while at the same time allow you to protect the integrity of your community. We can combine that by using open source, privacy centric software, and where Juju can help us, and to merge that with Nextcloud. So by the end of the video, you'll learn about Nextcloud, you'll learn about Juju, and how easy and powerful that can become to deploy complex software to your disposal. So we're going to do a bit of a twist here though. We're going to use a public cloud for the demo. It's going to be AWS for this purpose. You can use any cloud provider that you like. Maybe you have your own cloud, use that, then of course you use that in that case. But you can just as easy as we're going to be using the AWS, you can use a private cloud such as OpenStack, MAS, or an LXD cloud that we will be using when you're getting to the real usage of this, what you're actually putting your community members into. So let's begin with setting up our client and get going. Alright, let's start. So first of all, so this is a site Juju is, so this is where you can learn about what Juju is, and we're going to start with the clouds. So given that you have already installed like your client, which is mostly sudo snap install Juju minus classic, will give you an installation of Juju, and you see here I've already installed Juju as a snap, so sudo snap install Juju classic will give me my client. So awesome, that will be the client. The Juju client is the first thing you need to know about. Okay, second, you need to know about clouds. So what are the clouds? So Juju clouds. Juju are basically the Juju clouds will give you the clouds that are known to the client. So and this is where you see Juju clouds available on the client. I can see I have AWS here, 19 regions. It knows about the AWS clouds. it knows about the local host client. What is it? Well, you see the type over here. It says that the AWS is an EC2 cloud and localhost in an LXD cloud, and down by the bottom you see I have a MAS, which is a metal as a service kind of thing. It's basically hardware that is exposed itself to Juju. But there are more clouds. So if I type all, which is actually what it says that I can do, we will see all the clouds that are available. You just see down here, maybe if you prefer Azure, maybe you got some Google going on and Oracle and whatever, Rackspace, and you can have OpenStacks, and yeah, you get the picture. So now you know exactly what the client is, and you know that the cloud exists. So you have the Juju client and the cloud. So between you as a client and the cloud sits the controller. So the controller is actually the API endpoint to which your controller connects to. So to show you how this is going to work on your client, we're going to spawn a new client. I'm going to use LXC for this. So LXC launch. I'm going to LXC launch. I'm going to use Ubuntu the daily stream, and I'm gonna start a new instance of 2020 to 2004, and I'm gonna call it my client. If this is all bogus to you and you don't know what's going on here, it's basically I'm spawning a new container on my current workstation to give me a fresh workspace. So from LXC, I'm gonna execute a command into the my client instance. I'm gonna just spawn a bash. So you see, this is a really nice way of like getting a new fresh installation. So I'm not in there, so Juju wouldn't be installed in this fresh client. So if we can touch snap list, I'm not going to see any. I'm not going to see any Juju client here. So I'm going to type snap install Juju -, classic. So this will give me like now a fresh client. This would actually be what you would see if you were to install your fresh client on your, like, let's say, laptop or whatnot. You can use other means to do this, but I kind of love LXC for how fast it is and how responsive it is and access to hardware, whatnot. You just basically, if you don't know what LXC and LXD is, we should get on with it immediately to get up to speed with it. So now I have my Juju client installed as a snap inside of this container. So then controllers. So what are the controllers? So Juju controllers. So this is what you would see. It wouldn't understand anything. It's just no error, no controllers registered. That's not a good thing. Yeah. To change all of that, this is what you would see. You would either bootstrap into a new cloud, or you can do something to Juju login to Jazz. So what happened then? Well, you'll be presented with a URL here. You can copy that. You can paste it into any browser, because this is awesome. And you can type it in there, and boom, you'll be presented with the login. You log in. I've already done that, obviously. But you see, then this is where you're using your Ubuntu One account, which you have already created now. So this is a public controller. You should know that it's a public controller. But now let's see, Juju controllers. Yeah, cool. You now got a Jazz controller, and that would be like the equivalent of then if you would have like a local LXD cloud, then you would probably just use that. All right. So now you see you have a controller. Awesome, and we can use that if we want to do that. But yeah, that's a controller. So now you see suddenly my Juju controller is giving me something back. I can now also do the next step of this, just to introduce that, is the concept of the model that lives inside of this controller. But of course, this is we're kind of fresh to this, right? So Juju models will say, "Wow, you don't have any models here. It's empty. You don't have any models yet." Yes, but soon you will. So let's stay with that. Yeah. Okay, models. Models is the container in which your complete infrastructure around your system will live. You can have multiple models, which is the canvas or the place where you're going to put your systems into. So for that to work, when you want to start models, you need to have an access or an account in a cloud, or you could use your local. If you don't, if you if you have your LXC instance, that could be good enough, or like a mass or anything that you own on yourself, that's perfectly okay. It could just be a bunch of servers. But for this workshop, you're gonna have to get yourself access key from an AWS cloud, or this workshop won't work. So you need to get yourself some access key for the AWS cloud, and if you don't know how to do that, this is a picture of where you should go now. You should go into an account on your AWS account, go to my security credential, and extract a bunch of them. It will look different if you have another like a Google Cloud Engine. It will look, or if you have a mass, you do it a bit differently. But in the end, it's gonna be access key for the Juju client. All right, so this is where you're gonna find them. It's up to you, and that will produce like a username and a password for you. Once you've done that, and you need to have that working together with your Ubuntu One account. So once you have that working, so then we're gonna add those credentials to your client. So Juju add credential. So Juju add credential, it's gonna throw an error. It's not actually an error. It's basically telling you how to use this command. So Juju add credential is gonna want to have a cloud name. I'm gonna type in AWS, which is the name of the public cloud credential, and then optional, I can have a file without credential, but I'm not gonna do that. And then it's gonna, when typing enter to that, it's gonna ask me to either use it only on the client, which will basically not then be available to the controller. I could put it on the controller, or I could put it on both. I'm gonna put it on both. From that, I'm gonna pick a name for my client. So that I'm gonna name my credential my cred1, which is basically just a name to remember them. If I have multiple of accounts, multiple names in the same cloud, it's a good idea to keep them separate. But in this case, I'm just gonna call them my cred. And it's gonna ask me for a region. I'm not gonna type in anything about that. And at this point, I'm ready to enter the access key. And that would look something like that in the AWS. And then it's gonna ask for the secret part of the access key. I'm gonna type that in. You're not gonna see it, which is now added. So at this point, you could maybe see there would be also errors. There is a known bug in error in Juju client that will throw you. But what you're basically looking for is this: the controller credential, whatever, yada yada, is added. For this information, yeah, you show credential AWS mycred. Let's do that, and it's going to show me some information about what's going on in that. You can see my controller credential here and my client credential. Awesome. From this part, now we're ready to put that client those credentials to use. So for this kind, we're going to create the model. So Juju add model, and let's call it something like my first model. And I want it to live in AWS in the region EU North. I'm from Sweden, so I'm going to put it close to me, and I'm going to tell it to use the credential my cred1, and you see it's uploading the credential encrypted to the controller, and then my first model is now successfully added. It's now visible. If I type Juju models again, it will show me now there's in the model now. It lives in the AWS EU North 1, and it's an EC2 type of cloud. I can even add more models, so let's add my second model. I'm just gonna add it to the same region, whatever, use everything in the same thing. UU models. You see how now two models. You usually automatically to switch those over. So how do I get back to my first model? Well, you switch to my first model. Okay, right. So now we kind of just created these empty spaces or empty models that they don't really contain anything at the moment. So it's not much fun at the moment, but now we are soon going to put them to use. So Juju show model is another thing. We can also get some information of what is this model all about. You know, users, what kind of credential is attached to this model, what type it is, etc. And it might be good information to get stuff into this. The model also have some Juju show model Juju model config. It's another command to show us that this model actually has a bunch of configurational items that we can play with. Like, why don't we could for example have app mirrors, stuff this will be available to us. The default series being Bionic at the moment, and we could have log forwarding enabled, or proxy SSHing or whatnot. We're not going to go through all of that. Just want to mention, VPC ID if you're using multiple VPC and AWS, etc. But basically, now we created two controllers. So models. We created two models. We have created two models, and they're the first model and second model. Awesome. Okay, so now you know about models and the concept of them being container for software. So where's all of this software? Well, over here I've just opened up the next pane for you to see that there's something called the Jazz or the Charm Store. So Charm Store is like a public repository for placing your charms into if you're writing those. I've created and I'm maintaining the charm called Nextcloud. So if you go to the Charm Store, which is on the jazz.ai, and then you find the search window, you just search for Nextcloud, you will find a few of them actually, but the ones that you're looking for is the one with my handle, which is the Nextcloud. You click on that one, and then you come to the Charm home page in the Charm Store where you can find it. You see it's on the revision 4. I just recently updated it, and there's a bunch of, you can find description here how to use it. You typically find stuff like a bunch of example if you're gonna need some login later or not, or this is basically where you'll find the charm. So the charms is what you put into models. So let's get closer to our Nextcloud deployment. Actually, we are going to follow the descriptions you find here on the example deploy. We are just going to do a very tiny little example deploy. There are many ways to do this, but this is the one we're going to do. So Juju deploy, so it means that once you do the Juju deploy command, Juju will automatically figure out if it needs a server. It will create that server based on a bunch of constraints and place the software onto it. There's a lot of magic going on behind the scenes. I'm not going to show you all of that now, but let's just put this to work. So Juju deploy in the Nextcloud instance. So where's that all now happening? First of all, so Juju models, you learned all about that. So you see we were connected to the first model. So Juju status shows that now something is actually going on now. I'm going to expand a bit on this one so you can see it better. So Juju status again. Oh, that was even more horrible. So let's do this. Watch. We run a watch command. I usually do that all of the time. It's more interactive. It's updates every 2 seconds or so. So then we can see better what's going on inside our model. So now every 2 seconds we have an update, and you see here in the cloud, AWS is now spawning a new server, and where this Nextcloud charm is being applied to. I'm not going to go a lot deeper into what a charm is, but basically it's a bunch of codes and there are hooks, and you have to read about how to develop charms. It's not that difficult, but we're gonna, apart from that, we're gonna deploy more software into our model. We're going to deploy database. And where are we going to deploy this database? Yeah, you see here there's a directive on the 2 which allows us to place the PostgreSQL charm. You can find that equally if you search in the Charm Store for PostgreSQL, you're gonna find a charm that is named Postgre. So I'm gonna do that now. So I'm just gonna do Juju deploy PostgreSQL, and I'm gonna put it on 0. Why 0? Well, because machine 0, they get all indexes, so you don't have to address them with IP numbers. They have an index here, and this is also when they become units. They're gonna get you'll see what machine they're running on these. So I'm gonna put the PostgreSQL to 0 as well, and see the deployment of the Nextcloud is actually progressing without us even having a database at this point. But now it is deploying a charm, the PostgreSQL charm, and see now it ends up as a new unit, and that is also running on machine 0, We can have as many units as we like to, as long as they don't interfere and conflict, of course, but normally that's managed and manageable totally. So, and this will only as well also take up a single machine from us, which will cost us less money. It's good for the workshop. You can do it differently. And in this case, we're going to use something called relation. So this is a concept when we're dealing with Juju to be able to model our software, so that in a way that Postgre and Nextcloud knows how to speak to each other. So we're going to go ahead and relate them. Juju relate. Boom. They're now related. Nothing shows here, but in behind the scenes of this, there exists now a relationship. We can actually watch those relations. Juju status and type relations. Then we get additional rows here to see what relations are we, how are these charms all related. Okay, so now we, after the relation and some time has passed on, so Juju status. So Juju status will now show us kind of the state of this. As you see, it's still working, it's executing, doing a bunch of stuff. What goes on behind the scenes here is that basically the charms follow a state machine of kind of various of different hooks that are being called, that allows us to act within the charm, to produce a actual installation. If you want to dwell into this on the Juju homepage or the Jazz Store homepage, the whole the whole charm is actually located. You can find a bunch of stuff, and if you want to dig deep into this, you'll find the hooks. You can see, for example, what goes on when Nextcloud has been installed. You can click on the install hooks and see that it's what's going on here. And of course, this being a charm that you have to dig into the code to kind of get to know what's going on here. All right, but at this point, we see that the deployment of Nextcloud is getting closer and closer and closer to a working state. We're gonna follow it through. We'll maybe skip ahead in the video. We'll see. Okay, so we can now see from the Juju status output that the deployment has actually succeeded. We followed the guide on the home page of the Nextcloud charm, and we see everything now looks good. Nextcloud seems okay. We got it all greens, all active and stuff. It looks really good. And at this point, we are going to do the last step, which is actually to expose Nextcloud. Why do we expose? Well, in this particular cloud, like AWS has capabilities of managing firewalls for us, and Juju expose on the particular app, which is Nextcloud, we expose that. We can see already that port 8 is what it will expose. So once this command completes, we will see on the nodes on the side here that the Nextcloud is exposed. There you see, right? Okay, so we exposed Nextcloud. What now? What we can do now is actually to take the DNS name here for the machine 0, since we only got one, or we can look on the Nextcloud unit as well. It's got the same public address because we only have one server at this point. You can take that address, move over to our nice little window here, and type that address in just as it is, and boom, we got a login here. So how do we log in? Well, it turns out in the documentation that there is initial login information here. So take the admin, and the password is my password. It's a great password. So admin my password. I'm not going to say that. It seems ridiculous. But is it logging in? Welcome to your own Nextcloud in someone else's AWS's cloud. This is awesome. Okay, and from this we're just gonna start using Nextcloud. So here you go. Here is what you see here is Nextcloud. So we're not going to go through all the cool thing with Nextcloud. We're going to do that a bit later, but instead we're going to turn back our eyes to Juju. So we can just see here, we got like settings and personal, maybe we want to do, I don't know, you do whatever you like in here. But files is kind of interesting. I'm just going to show this. You've seen this file manager over here. Why don't we just upload that to our new Nextcloud. You take that picture here and boom, it's now there. What can I do with it? Well, I can watch it actually inside of our Nextcloud. Well, that's awesome. What can we do more? Well, let's play around with that soon. Yes. Okay, so now we got a functional Nextcloud. So what do? Well, do we want to continue like this? Of course not. We want to learn a bit more about what we can do. So Juju status, what is going on? Well, you can see down here what the status is. So everyone working with IT now is gonna ask, how do I get into my running instance? How do I access it? Well, Juju has a number of ways to do that. Actually, you can even reach your instances even if there's a firewall between. I'm not gonna go into the details, but because I'm not going to go into the details about all of the means you can do this, but one of the means to do that is of course via the Juju wrapper for SSH. So Juju SSH, and to figure out where you want to go, where do I need to go? Well, you figure out the name of the unit, which will correspond to public IP address, or any means that Juju can reach it. And there's a second way to do that, is to figure out what machine index, and in this case we only have one machine. But let's try to use the unit for this this first exercise. So Juju SSH and the name of the unit, and boom, I am now teleported into the unit. No passwords. How did that work? Well, it turns out that Juju uses SSH keys. So it uploads your public SSH keys attached to this client, and will, by means of that, allow you to come into this node, and of course you can be root. So now you're on this server and you can maybe see what's going on. We're likely going to see there's an Apache running there. We got a PostgreSQL. You'll figure out a bunch of different other things that is related to a particular running server. What more? Yeah, of course you can do everything from this, like apt install whatever. Let's have apt install EUG. I don't know, we won't do that, but still, you get the point here, right? So now I'm going to go out from it. That's all fine. So Juju status, you'll see that we teleported us to machine 0, and if you have multiple machines going on, can we go into them? Yes, of course you can. So what if you want to deploy a server that doesn't have any application on it? So Juju has another command, add machine. So add machine, we just add an empty default series machine to the running model, right? So Juju add machine, what happens? See down here now? There you go. Juju now starts another machine, and in this case it will not have any app attached to it. So it will just spawn an instance and leave it as it is default. But you can still do everything with it, and move into it through the means of SSH. And you can afterwards, maybe you want to do something with the machine before you deploy a SHARM or something like that. Let's say you want to deploy tiny bash. It's a tiny bash. Oh, tiny bash. I'm wrong search window. So tiny bash. There's a SHARM that I called tiny bash that I wrote some time ago, and said there it is. It's supported by a Bionic and Disco. I'm gonna take that one, and you'll see I'll get the SHARM store location for it. So then I can just Juju deploy on that one, but I can also then say, well, I wanted to live on this machine 1 that we just created, so it's just 2.1. So see down here now, soon there will be a tiny bash coming in. This is the app. It pulls it down, the controller pulls it down from the app store, and a unit is forming, but it doesn't have a machine, so it's waiting to to allocate it. But the machine was found immediately because we started it before, so it's now installing and started tiny bash. Tiny bash is now available on that second machine. So can we SSH to it? Juju SSH. In this case, we're not going to SSH to machine 0. We're going to SSH to machine 1, and boom, we're in. And on this, you won't find any PSQL or anything. You just find a normal little tiny bash installation that doesn't do anything except just live on the server, because it's this SHARM. and by means of that you can move on and become quite more complicated about things. But at this point, the purpose of this was just to show you now what can you do, with Juju and a model. And well, in a few, have this maybe half an hour or something that we've gone on with this covering Juju stuff, we got yourself a personal Nextcloud. Now we're gonna talk a bit more about what you can do in the with the Nextcloud. But before we do this, what do you do when you messed up a lot? So Juju status. Say you messed up a lot. Your model is not, and it's not Juju model. Sorry. So say you messed up your model. It's completely messed up. My first model is messed up. We need to do something. So Juju destroy model. My first model. Let's destroy it. It's gonna ask you, do you really want to do this? You will destroy your work. Yes. Then the cloud in this case will start wrapping up and destroying everything, and that's also good for your wallet, because you're gonna pay for this, right? If you have an AWS account, they're gonna pay you for it, or you're gonna charge you for it. Okay, so Juju models. This model will soon go away after we cleaned up. So you use switch. So now we're gonna deploy another Nextcloud, and this time we're gonna do it really fast. You use status. So you see here, so it's empty. It's not gonna be empty for very long. We're gonna go to the Nextcloud, Charm. Let's find it in the Charm store. Let's go there, and we're just gonna take that example, copy it as it is, paste it in here. See, now we're deploying a new Nextcloud in the second model, because we're destroying the first one because we messed it up, and we're exposing it immediately. We're doing all of that in one step. UI status, you see it's coming alive, and if in a few minutes, or rather than now, see, now it's already available. Actually, it's already got a DNS name. You copy that, and you're gonna have a new Nextcloud here, where all your stuff is going. Okay. So while we're waiting for this to land, take a coffee or something, and then we're gonna go through more of the Nextcloud. Okay, congratulations! You just deployed your first cloud, or maybe it's your next cloud. I don't know. Anyway, so you got it all rocking down here. So you see, by the Juju status, we have now in our second model a Nextcloud running. So you see, I've also already exposed it, and you just saw it before that we could now reach it on internet. So here's the internet site. So let's go there and start exploring Nextcloud. So just as we did before, just put in the DNS, the IP number, log in as admin with my password, and we are logged. Alright, so the purpose of this demo was actually just to show you how easy it is to get the infrastructure, the core infrastructure ready for your Nextcloud. So I'm just going to explore a bit for you here some of the nice things with the cloud, such as using the web interface to just get your stuff in there. This would be the functionality provided by Dropbox, right? Talking about Dropbox, the only thing that it's maintained, and you know that this is something that is truly private to you and your community. Alright, so this would be the file sharing capabilities. Over here, see, you have your users. You, as an administrator, you could easily add a user. Let's say you want to add user. It would be like Peter. He's gonna, Peter dude, and his password is gonna be something fancy, and his email, whatnot. And he's created. I'm not gonna save that, and prevent, because it was a really randomly awesome password. So let's create another one. This is gonna be very complicated. You can have him in a group or whatnot. So now Peter is in your system. He's provided with a login. So if Peter now decides to log into your Nextcloud, Peter will be part of your community. Obviously now Peter is on your responsibility in terms of his data, because you're an administrator here. You can use his data. You have to be careful. Well, turns out that there is also Nextcloud it's not only like that particular software. It's got a huge ecosystem of plugins. Okay, those are called apps. You find them over here, and you can add those. So let's say you're about to, say you're about to challenge the coronavirus tracking, but you don't want to, you don't want your users to be all tracked. So what do? Turns out that maybe we can find some maps in here. Let's see. Oh, maps. Okay, so download and enable. Let's do that. I don't know. I've never done this before, but maps seems to be like some sort of interesting, plugin. So I'm just click to see. This is how easy it is with a plugin. And there it is. Oh, I immediately saw that something popped out here. It maps. Let's click on it. So, oh my God, we got maps, and let's find Australia. There it is. I don't know where you guys are, but this is maps, and I don't know, what could, maybe this could be useful in your pursuit of trying to solve the coronavirus. I don't know, maybe it is. There, you got photos in here. Say you want to take a photo. It turns out that Nextcloud is already integrated with your phone, so you can easily attach your phone to this by using like an Android or iOS or whatever. It doesn't matter really what you're using, but you can connect your phone so that it automatically will save your photos once you take them here. Maybe you can use that. Maybe you need to take a photo of something and have it turn up here and be digested by and analyzed for some purposes. There's also other kind of plugins like audio plugins. So maybe you need to record something. Let's go to apps here, and there's multimedia. See what's in here. Audio player. Maybe we want that. Yeah, let's enable it. Yeah, we just enable an audio player here. I don't know. Maybe it could be used. Maybe a firefighter needs to record something because he doesn't have time to type something. Then you can have that automatically being uploaded to your community, so that information from the firefighter can be used for something. I don't know. There's so many different things. Maybe monitor. I don't know what you would use monitoring thing, but it doesn't matter. You just download and enable. Say you want for your community. Say you need to have something like a meeting platform that doesn't go through a third party. Well, there's Talk. Why don't we just enable that in our Nextcloud? So you will now have like video and audio conferencing. Oh, look here. There's the audio player. There's the maps. Maybe there's something. I don't know. How do we call Erie now? Our user, Peter. Maybe we can call him now. I don't know. No, obviously not. But yeah, somehow somewhere in here, maybe we're gonna find Talk at some point. I don't know how that is used. I never used it myself. Let's see. What could we more have? And sometimes you need to configure that, as well. These plugins needs to be configured for them to work. But you have all sorts. Maybe you need some PDF viewer, text appointment. Collabora Online is a suite that you could deploy to have online editing, just as Google Suite would enable you to do. You have contacts and dashboards and charts and data analytics going on. There is anything, and because it's all open source, if it's not in here, it's your responsibility to make sure that it exists in the pursuit of doing something. Oh my God! I'd really COVID-19. Oh, thank God, there's nothing in there yet. It's up to you now to tackle that. All right. So this is just a short overview of Nextcloud. So oh, maybe I should. Okay, so sharing. Maybe that's something I should show you. So say Gorilla here, that picture, or maybe the AWS access key. We need to share that. Let's say we want to share it, so we can go ahead and type Peter. Yeah, Peter, dude. He's gonna be shared that. Yeah, see you go. Now Peter, when Peter's logging in with a extremely difficult password that we choose for him, Peter will actually be able to see this. You can also share this like you can share it with someone through a link. Now we got a link to that particular file, so we can enter it here, and oh, there you go. You see, we have access to the image immediately. these are only some of the capabilities of Nextcloud. You can attach storage to it. You have WebDAV in here. You can have desktop clients attached to it, such as my own. You can have files being synchronized from your desktop client, so that the data will automatically show up in this interface as you're saving them on your local workstation. And here that information will be synchronized. It will not be only living in the cloud, it will also be on your local client. Yeah, I hope with this that you got some inspiration to what you are going to create. I don't know. I just showed you now how easy it is to get a Nextcloud going with Juju. Alright, so I'm just gonna end with here that there's a more extensive tutorial put together by Tim Clicks, that's part of a Juju developer in the Discord Juju forum, and that takes you through, if you want to set up this also by providing like SSL, like TLS certificates, so that your communication with your Nextcloud will be secure. And this goes through this by creating models, stuff that you have already been doing. This is going to be very easy for you to follow through, and this is a proper tutorial. And if you want help, the Juju community is really vibrant at the moment. It's really friendly people. Just tap into Discourse, and we'll see you there. And okay, thank you. This is gonna be my contribution to you guys. Now you go create. See you guys.